two drafters of this particular amendment, the Honorable Mule and the Honorable Kidinji. Madam Speaker, I want to, from the onset, to actually support this particular initiative so that we have CDF entrenched in our constitution. CDF, as it can be seen, has really done a lot to our community. The impact that has actually brought is actually seen by all. The Honorable Speaker, I want to make the following remarks regarding the same, and to make it known that before CDF, my constituency had very pathetic institutions in terms of primary school. In fact, we had less than 40 primary school. As we speak today, because of CDF, we have more than 180 primary school. School still lags behind in terms of incomplete structures. And during my campaigns, Honorable Speaker, I promised my constituents that within the first year, I should have been able to complete the incomplete infrastructure within the primary school. As almost 5 incomplete classrooms. And with CDF, I was going to complete the same infrastructure before the elapsing of 1 year. Madam Speaker, the primary school that I went to, primary school called Kimaya, is in a vulnerable situation. The school actually, if every government institution was going to work, should have been closed as of now because of the structures that are deplorable, that are in deplorable condition. The Honorable Speaker, I had promised the constituents, including the primary school that I went to, that within the first 2 years, I should have given them proper structures for learning. If CDF is not going to continue to exist, Madam Speaker, we are forced, or we will be forced to go back to the days when the only way to achieve actually development was through the Arambe Clarion. Honorable Speaker, we want to speak on behalf of the vulnerable families that we are all coming from. I want, for instance, to talk about myself, because the Honorable Speaker, were it not for CDF, I don't know where I would be as at now. I'm a very true example of a product that was actually assisted by CDF, and through the assaults, while I was learning, I was able to actually complete my studies, and as I speak today, I'm a member of parliament, courtesy of the same. The people who actually went to court to challenge the existence of CDF should have at least given a thought on what will happen to the vulnerable families, what will happen to the needy in our society, what would have happened or what is going to happen to the orphans who may live together in our communities, whose main source of hope to educate their children and to actually get a basic needs of education is through CDF. The people who went to court should have at least answered the above questions. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about the registration of the upcoming or mushrooming schools within our society. The Ministry of Education has a basic requirement before you are registered, and the following are not limited to accessibility or actually availability of 2 acres of land, having constructed actually 4 in number in terms of permanent classrooms. The Ministry of Education also requires before registration of new schools, the school should actually have two toilets, one belonging to the boys and the other belonging to the girls. Madam Speaker, it will only mean that we are not going to have new registration of mushroom schools as per the need of our constituents if CDF is not going to continue to exist. Madam Speaker, I want to really support this particular motion because we really want to see meaningful development continuing to exist within our constituency. The Honourable Speaker, as a member of Parliament, we should support the sporting talents for the various disciplines within our constituency, and namely volleyball, football, and the others. Madam Speaker, if CDF is not going to continue to exist, we don't know what will happen to our talents, and we really want to support. As it is indicated within the NCCDF, that 2% should normally go to sports. As my earlier colleagues are spoken about, also the conservation and protection of the environment, that CDF mandates us to allocate around 2%. As I finish, the Honorable Speaker, we cannot be speaking, as a government, we cannot be speaking from two ends. We cannot be demanding that we have 100% transition to secondary school, while at the same time, we want to deny the poor and the needy within our society the basic needs to education due to lack of school fees. The Honorable Speaker, the impact that this particular, the impact that is going to come with CDF not going to exist anymore, it will only mean that we will have no library construction in our young schools. And that will mean a drop in terms of performance in the various secondary schools that we have within our constituencies. Lack of CDF, again, will only mean, Madam Speaker, that no new laboratories are going to be constructed to our new schools. I have several requests while I was campaigning, while I was going around. I had actually several requests for construction of laboratories. This will have actually greatly impacted on improving the performance of the various schools. Lack of CDF will only mean we go back to Harambee. This is something that our government, the Kenya Kwanza government, would not want to see our country going down. Talk of the rise in dropout in number of students who are going to drop out, Madam Speaker, we would not want to see the vulnerable families not educating their children or their pupils simply because they are lacking the school fees. This is the reason why, Madam Speaker, we want to plead, to pray, and to also make sure that we have CDF properly entrenched within the Constitution so that CDF continues to exist and to continue to exist and to support which that is supporting us at the moment. Actually, denying vulnerable society the basic need of education is ungodly, Madam Speaker. And for this reason, I want to entirely make my few remarks and to support this particular legislation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. And for the benefit of the new members, Honorable Johnson Manya, when you're crossing the floor, please go to the bar and bow. Don't just cross as you have just done. The next chance will go to the Honorable Agnes Pareyo, MP Narok North. Agnes, Honorable Agnes Pareyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. And also, before I contribute, I want to thank Honorable Muli and Keshimo for coming up with this proposal that we will see National Government Constituency Development Fund anchored into the Constitution. This is a fund that is known by everybody in Kenya. It is a fund that is not meant for the members of parliament because we have our schools because of CDF. And this is a fund that has helped a lot in the constructions of primary school and building the laboratories, building the dormitories, the dining halls in our constituencies. If it were not for these funds, I think our children would still be going to mud classrooms. And as I speak, there are those that still go to classrooms that are not permanent. And therefore, that is why we support the National Government Constituency Development Fund to make sure that it is in place to pay school fees for our children. And at the moment, we are going through a drought, and in my constituency, most men are not at home. They are all with their animals looking for greener pastures for them. So once these children are sent home, they just come and find their mothers. And the mothers have nothing to do with their children. It means that we have most of them at home. And that's why I support this motion, to make sure that this fund has been anchored into the Constitution. And that is only when we can say these funds will be there and nobody will go again to court and nobody will interfere with it. Whether we are there or not, the funds will remain and will help people in paying school fees. I also support the increment of this fund to 5%. This is because this fund was not used to give water to our communities. And some of our communities are semi-arid and arid, and therefore they have no water. And our people take or drink contaminated water. And for them to have clean water, we must also include water in these programs so that we can give clean water to our people. This is a fund that empowers our people, because if we cannot have these funds in place, then it means that we will not have bursaries for our children. Our people are still poor. Some of the children have single parents and cannot afford to pay university school fees and also to maintain these children in school. I come from a community that still value our culture and therefore don't give a priority to girls. And when these girls drop from school, the parents will be reluctant in taking back these girls to school. And that's how we chip in as leaders to make sure that we give these girls another opportunity to try and be who they wanted to be by giving them funds to continue with their education. And that's why I support these funds to be anchored into our Constitution so that we cannot be threatened by anybody else. Because if it is in the Constitution, it remains there and it will forever be there. I also want to support the funds that empower women. That is NGAF and any other funds that comes to the youth and women. And this is money that empowers our women. This money that puts, this program puts money into the pockets of women. I see them doing the table banking, and when they do the table banking, they also have knowledge on how money can be used, how you can borrow money, how you can pay back the money. Therefore, it gives knowledge to our women. When we construct these classrooms, we give the local contractors tenders to make sure that we retain our money in our constituency or in our county, and it's going to deal with the eradication of poverty, because this money remains there, it circulates, it doesn't go anywhere else. So the people who benefit are the communities in those areas. And that's why I stand or I rise to support this motion to make sure that we support the proposal of having a legislative to anchor national constituency development funds in the Constitution. And I just want to ask Honorable Muli and Honorable Keshimo to try and add a few members who will look into that proposal to make sure that it is done in a way that it doesn't go and then fails, to make sure that there are no loopholes, to make sure that it is it comes out clear, and